You bury your phone in a drawer the second it dies. You bury leftovers in the back of the fridge, hoping they'll get eaten. You bury secrets, mistakes, texts you wish you'd never sent. Burial isn't just a funeral thing. It's a default human setting, older than you'd ever guess. And somewhere around 100,000 years ago, your ancestors started doing it with bodies. Not because they understood death. Not because of religion, not yet. They did it because of something stranger. Something still running quietly in your brain right now. What if the reason you flinch at a dead animal on the sidewalk isn't squeamishness? What if it's an ancient alarm system, built to keep your ancestors alive? And what if your entire modern life is shaped by that same alarm every single day? Here's the baseline you need to understand first. Early humans lived in small, tight groups, maybe 20 or 30 people max. Every single person mattered for survival, no exceptions, no spares. So when someone died, it created a problem, and not just an emotional one. There's a concept in evolutionary psychology called disgust as disease avoidance. Basically, your brain treats decay like a 5-alarm fire going off in real time. A decomposing body releases compounds your nose is wired to detect instantly. That smell isn't random. It's a warning label written by evolution itself. There's a second framework worth knowing here, called pathogen avoidance theory. It explains why disgust evolved as one of your fastest, most automatic emotions. Faster than fear, faster than logic, faster than anything you can consciously override. Anthropologists call early burial practices mortuary behavior, and it shows up surprisingly early in the fossil record. We're talking deliberate graves, sometimes with flowers, tools, even red pigment placed beside the body. This wasn't an accident. This was infrastructure, built long before anyone had a word for infrastructure. Think about what a corpse actually represented to a small ancient group. It's not just sad. It's a walking biohazard sitting in the middle of camp. Disease can spread fast when everyone lives in close quarters, sharing food, air, and space. Predators get curious, insects multiply, and panic spreads even faster than germs do. One body left out in the open could spiral into a survival crisis for everyone still breathing. So burial wasn't really about honoring the dead at first. It was crisis management. It was the Stone Age version of a containment team showing up before an outbreak spreads. You do something similar today without even noticing it. You wash your hands obsessively after touching something gross, almost on autopilot. You recoil from spoiled milk before you even consciously register the smell. That recoil response is the same ancient circuitry, just running on different hardware now. Burial was that instinct, scaled up to protect an entire tribe at once. But here's where it gets darker, and far stranger than simple hygiene ever could. Some of the earliest deliberate burials we've found aren't just about disease control. They're loaded with intention, with meaning, with something close to tenderness. Bodies positioned carefully, objects placed beside them like they'd need them later. That tells us something huge about what was happening inside these early minds. Early humans weren't just disposing of decomposing, slow meat in the corner of a cave. They were doing something psychologically massive, something no animal had ever done before. They were trying to manage grief, memory, and group cohesion, all at the same time. Now snap back to your own life for just a second, right now. Think about how you actually handle a breakup, start to finish, no shortcuts. You don't just delete the contact and move on instantly, even if you wish you could. You go through a process, a strange private ritual that's entirely your own. You box up the gifts. You unfollow them slowly, painfully, almost in stages. That's not random behavior. That's the same ancient software, running on modern hardware. And now, here's the twist that changes the entire story you thought you understood. Burial was never really just about the body in the ground. It was about controlling a story, locking a memory into place forever. Once a group began marking graves, they were doing something no other species does. They were creating a permanent record of loss, a flag planted in the landscape, a signal that says, someone who mattered to us was here, and we will not forget. This is the exact moment our ancestors began building what you could call social infrastructure for memory itself. Suddenly, the dead weren't simply gone. They were anchored, encoded into the group's identity. This is the moment grief stopped being a private biological event, locked inside one person's head. It became a shared cultural technology instead, something the whole tribe could lean on together. Once that switch flipped inside the species, there was no going back to the old way. Humanity had just stumbled into the invention of permanence itself. And once you invent permanence, you can never fully unplug from it again. So how does this mechanism actually work inside your brain, practically speaking? Picture your memory like a messy desk covered in sticky notes that won't stop multiplying. Every loss, every emotional gut punch, creates a note your brain refuses to throw away. Grief researchers describe something called continuing bonds, meaning you stay psychologically tied to someone after they're gone. It's the one official term we'll define clearly today. So let's break it down simply. Continuing bonds just means your relationship with someone doesn't end the moment their heart stops. Your brain keeps a working model of them, almost like a saved file you keep reopening. Burial gave ancient humans a physical anchor for exactly that connection, a specific spot to return to, again and again, whenever the grief resurfaced unexpectedly, a place to process feelings that otherwise had nowhere solid to land. Without that anchor, grief becomes formless, and it leaks into everything around it. With an anchor, grief gets a container, a location, a ritual you can repeat on command. That single leap, turning loss into a physical place, may be one of the most underrated inventions in human history. Zoom out even further, and you'll see this exact pattern hiding in plain sight today. Every cemetery, every memorial plaque, every digital tribute page online runs on the same ancient mechanism. You're not just scrolling past a tribute post out of politeness or social obligation. You're quietly participating in a 100,000-year-old survival strategy for processing collective loss. Even keeping an old voicemail from someone who passed away taps directly into this circuitry. It's not really nostalgia. It's something closer to drug recycling for your nervous system. You're pulling tiny doses of connection from something that no longer physically exists in the room with you. Civilization didn't invent grief management from scratch. It just rebuilt ancient burial logic using shinier, faster materials. Think about how often this shows up in places you'd never expect to find it. Office desks with framed photos of people who've passed, sitting quietly between keyboards and coffee mugs. Social media accounts left untouched for years because deleting them feels like a second funeral. Even city planning still bends around this instinct, with cemeteries placed at the centers of towns, not the edges. We never stopped building social infrastructure for memory. We just changed the materials we build it from. Even your phone's camera roll is basically a digital ossuary, quietly stacking up faces you can't bring yourself to delete. And here's where the real mindbender finally kicks in, the one that reframes everything. If burial began as a biological cheat code to protect the group from disease and chaos, it didn't stay that way for long. Somewhere along the timeline, it mutated into something else entirely, something almost existential. It became proof that you mattered, that your existence left a visible mark on the world. Every time you post something hoping it gets remembered, you're chasing that exact same primal itch, the itch to not disappear completely, to leave some kind of residue behind for someone else to find. Burial gave your ancestors a way to say the body is gone, but the person isn't, not entirely. You're still running version 2 of that exact same ritual today, whether you notice it or not. So next time you walk past a cemetery or scroll an old photo album late at night, remember this. You're not just being sentimental in that moment, even if it feels that simple. You're running ancient software, designed to keep a tribe alive by making sure no one important ever truly vanishes. Death created the first technology humans ever needed, and it wasn't fire. And it wasn't tools. It was memory infrastructure, built by hand, one grave at a time, long before writing existed. And if burial was humanity's first attempt to cheat disappearance, you have to wonder what we accidentally invented next. Because the moment we figured out how to make memories outlast the body completely, we changed what it even means to die. And that question is exactly where we're headed next.